Before we dive into today's podcast, this episode is sponsored by Rebuy, an end-to-end personalization platform for Shopify and Shopify Plus stores. Now, personalizing your Shopify store isn't a nice to have, it's definitely a must. Did you know that over 75% of online shoppers are more inclined to buy from brands that offer a personalized shopping experience? It's no surprise then that stores that embrace personalization, they see significant boosts in conversion rates and average order value and even customer lifetime value. So if you're looking for the simplest and most effective way to deliver smart, tailored experiences to your Shopify customers, look no further than Rebuy. This is a powerful platform and has a suite of game-changing features. A few that I love: AI-powered smart search is really there to help shoppers find exactly what they need. They also have precise and well-timed product recommendations. Really, that's there to increase your cart size. And the best part, I love their smart cart. It's stunning and intelligent shopping cart experience. I would say it's market leading. It's the best. And with results like this, it's clear why more than 10,000 of the fastest Shopify stores have already turned to Rebuy to wow their customers and skyrocket their sales. So don't miss out on the personalization revolution, because it's happening right now. And as a special guest to eCommerce Fastlane listeners, Rebuy is offering the first 45 days absolutely free. And all you have to do is go to rebuyengine.com/Fastlane, and there you can sign up and get going on this platform absolutely free.
You're listening to eCommerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Well, welcome back to eCommerce Fastlane. I'm your host, Steve Hutt. Thanks so much for tuning in today. There's so many, as you know, so many podcasts to choose from in the direct-to-consumer and kind of marketing space and the Shopify kind of ecosystem. And I just truly appreciate the fact that you're taking time. You picked today's episode. You're going to gain a lot of insights, a lot of knowledge around your Shopify brand, directly related to the theme you're using and potentially the tech stack you currently have. And I'd argue that a lot of people have a lot of duct tape going on about app selection and if in fact they're actually talking to each other. Now today, my guest is Ben Scharf. He's the co-founder of a company called Platter, and they're located at platter.co. And here's a little back. I did some research before recording today, and he's a former Division I hockey player. He actually turned down opportunities to go and play professionally. And actually, he was living out here in British Columbia, where I live, and out into Chilliwack. And basically, he started working for an M&A consulting firm, really to pursue more his entrepreneurial passion and a lot of the learnings that go along with that. He started his e-commerce journey at GoPuff, where he really helped build their powered by kind of business unit, really to help these instant delivery, like for online stores. Really neat. I never even knew about GoPuff. I almost like maybe it's an American thing. I did research today. I'm like, wow, that's such a really neat leading kind of product that I think wasn't available in its day. Through more conversations I've learned, by his product and stuff like that, that Ben really has realized there really is an opportunity right now of how to operate and manage your Shopify store. And he met his co-founder, and end of the day now, he's finding that there's a lot of bloat and a lot of like kind of developer kind of dependencies that are going on. I'd argue that some people, and I've had a lot of brands I've managed over the years, and it's so interesting where people don't even have GitHub. They don't really understand versioning and the history behind what things have been going on, and or senior developers leave without any kind of backup code. It can really go down a train wreck of issues. And I think today's episode is going to open your mind a bit about what is out there, what can Platter do, what's the value they bring to the market of both theme and apps, custom built all into one solution to really help brands really scale up. So Ben, welcome to eCommerce Fastlane.
Thanks for having me today, Steve. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. You have a very, very unique and interesting platform because, I have brands, like I said, that I speak with, and a lot of them like, hey, we believe it's time to retheme, like reskin our theme, or we want to find a new theme. And there's a lot of reasons why. I think they're looking at competitors. I think they've tried all the A/B tests until they're blue in the face, trying to figure out why it is that my AOV is, or average order size, my LTV. They're looking at a lot of these, some I'd say vanity KPIs, but they're looking at their KPIs and like, hey, wait a second, something's not right here. I wonder if we need to work on our brand play here with a new theme, and potentially, do we have all the right apps and are they talking to each other? And I think you'd argue there's a better way, and I think you've solved that way. So I want to unpack that today. So first, let's talk about your founding story, because it's fascinating to me why people build what they build. And I kind of talked about this in the green room with you, but it's more than just a recurring revenue model. And that's great. You're a business to earn money. But on the flip side, the upside is with the merchant and kind of what you're doing. So talk about how you met your co-founder and kind of why you're building Platter today.
Yeah, so I have two co-founders. It's myself, Mike, and Kieran. Quick backstory on us. Mike is actually a childhood friend of mine. We grew up together. And our third co-founder, Kieran, we were working together at a COVID testing startup in early 2020. That company scaled to 50 million in revenue in 5 months. And Kieran was the head of product and growth, and I was doing expansion there. And we became good friends throughout that journey, and very quickly realized that we both had an interest in e-commerce, and we're kind of doing some stuff on the side at the time. And Mike, our third co-founder, was working at a marketplace consulting agency. And so when Kieran and I became friends, we just started riffing on ideas, and one thing led to the next, and the three of us were just doing some consulting work together. It was like very much on the side at the time. I ended up joining, as you mentioned, a company called GoPuff, which is an instant delivery platform for convenience store goods. And I spent a year there working on a business unit that was essentially built to enable instant delivery for .com websites. Mm-hmm. So the idea was to be able to buy something from a D2C store and get it delivered to you in under 30 minutes. The reason that's important is because I spent that full year just talking to Shopify brands and people in this ecosystem and starting to really intimately understand the problems that they're dealing with every day. Simultaneously, Kieran and Mike were both working in their irrespective jobs, working in e-commerce and direct to consumer as well. And so what we ended up doing was just taking our relationships and our experience, and we started as an agency just consulting with D2C brands with the sole goal of better understanding their problems and working with the people we wanted to make our future customers in the form of software. And so we really just started working with a bunch of brands and synthesizing the recurring pain points that kept coming up, and ultimately using that to guide what is now known to be Platter.
It really is amazing how serendipitously these things kind of come to play. And it's like, the end of the day, it's just like each person brings a certain amount of value and experience. And then all of a sudden, it's the joint effort of the three of you now that are really, I'd argue, pushing the needle a bit, because it's quite interesting what your value prop is. I've never really seen anybody do something like this, and it's quite unique. So let's talk about the Platter platform in general, because, high level, I kind of understand it, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective. Like, when you think about a theme that powers a Shopify store, you either start with a default theme like Dawn, and then you skin it accordingly, or you typically buy a premium theme from one of the large kind of theme developers. If you go to themes.shopify.com, you can see there's lots in there, and $300 to $500, you buy a theme, it's yours, and you can skin it and do whatever you want. And they give you lots of WYSIWYG editors and things like that, and content blocks. But the reality is that, in my opinion, is that, like, for example, I think like the Turbo theme, been around forever, number one selling theme. The challenge I have with that is that there's so many sites that look like Turbo, and it's all right. People go right, they joke about it. Like, is that a Turbo site or is that a Shopify site? Like, people just like know it's a Shopify site, but it's the Turbo theme that's actually running it. And I question about the branding behind that play, where maybe the Turbo is a great theme, fair enough, but on the flip side, though, you're not really differentiating yourself, from a brand play. So I want to talk about what Platter does from its design characteristics of its theme. And then once that, I want to talk about the pre-baked in kind of technology you have kind of in lieu of having to pay for apps from the App Store.
Yeah, so I think to give you a little bit of background on like why we exist and kind of the problems we were aiming to solve. So I think for context, Platter is a theme and app bundle that helps improve profitability on storefronts. And the business was built around a couple core theses. The first one is that, in our belief, a lot of apps in the Shopify ecosystem are features, not products. And so as brands scale, they get stuck with too many apps, too many support teams, a bloated tech stack, which results in a slower website and worse conversion. The second piece to it is that we found that there's a huge drop off in terms of utility of a lot of these core apps after the first 20% of functionality they offer. So for example, like you'll see some apps that'll raise the price because of all these bells and whistles that they're adding on the back end, yet merchants are really using them for that core functionality. And the third piece of it is the fundamental misalignment between most development agencies and brand owners, where development agencies get paid for their time. So they're incentivized to drag things out, make things complicated, and essentially try to have you beholden to them as a business, which can cause a whole nother set of complexities and frustrations for brand owners down the line. And so what we've done over the last 2 years is natively build a lot of the most popular app functionality around marketing and conversion into one theme and app bundle to unify your app stack, and then layer in best practices around how to increase your average order value and conversion rate so we can actually quantify making you money and saving you money at the same time.
It's quite interesting though. So your theme is, so I guess at the starting point, there is kind of like a default install. So during the production, let's say someone says, hey, I'm unhappy with my current kind of look and feel, and maybe Platter is an opportunity. So overall net, I'm sure we can have some kind of an audit done. We'll talk about that later. But it's just like, here's where we're at today. If Platter takes over, so walk us through what happens if someone says, yes, I'm unhappy with my current theme. I was just going to go buy a theme or hire a Fiverr or Elance or Odesk, kind of like whatever, and see if I can have it tweaked and modified more uniquely for me. Walk us through what happens when someone says, yes, I want to go with Platter because I can see that I don't have to have these monthly fees for these apps that I am currently using. And then, but on the flip side though, I get to be reskinned into the Platter themes. Like what happens during this process?
Yeah. So one of the big things to note is that the misconception that we're basically trying to debunk is that building a high converting storefront is expensive and takes a long time.
Okay.
I hear all these horror stories that brands are getting quoted 6 figures, 9 months to like build a store. And it just doesn't need to be that way. Because if you productize a lot of that repetitive work up front, you can reduce the timeline and make it more cost effective for brands. The way that we interact with brands, so you can't leverage our theme in a self-serve fashion today. It's all white glove.
Okay.
So what happens is a brand will come to us, we'll take in their requirements and their assets, and we'll produce a set of wireframes built around our design system where you can actually leave comments and leave feedback on the designs. Once you sign off on those designs, we'll implement those into a backup theme for you, that at which point we'll hand it over to you.
I see. And then, okay, so that's great. So I understand that now. So now we get the UX and the UI is going to be completely organized and fresh and custom, but all based on your own experience of kind of what great looks like.
Yeah,
from
so
a design
we're conversion rate nerds. We always joke that we're not brand builders, we're e-com nerds. So I can't tell you how to make a pretty brand, but I can tell you what's going to get someone to buy more and buy more frequently.
Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, so now we have a high converting theme, at least from a visual kind of perspective, and it has all the right usability. So talk about some of the other apps that people are going to not need anymore, at least from a general perspective, because I can see that there are a few things that you deal with as far as like in-cart upsells and cross-sells, but maybe you can go a little deeper into some of the unique tech stack that you're offering complimentary as part of the Platter fee.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's a one theme in one app. The reason we built the app was to build additional complicated features that were too complex to build into the theme layer, but the idea is for both products to work in conjunction with each other.
Okay.
As far as the theme goes, we have everything in there from mega menus to cart drawers, incentive progress bars, cart upsells, mix and match bundle builders, quick view modals, sticky CTAs. The list is pretty extensive. I mean, we have a page on the website that has a full feature library.
Okay.
And then in the app, so the theme is called Smart Theme, and then the app, which is called Platter Plus. The main feature in that right now is checkout extensions, which is only applicable to Shopify Plus brands.
Okay.
If you're a Shopify Plus brand that isn't using checkout extensions, you should start immediately because it's just an absolute no-brainer in terms of the value that you get back. Like as an example, I think I'd mentioned to you before we started recording is we had a brand who's doing the Platter bundle. So we're in the process of rebuilding their whole store, but we put the app on their existing store for the time being. They saw a 42x return on the cost of the app in the first month of being live, which essentially paid for the entire bundle before their new store is even done.
Yeah, I love that. That's good ROI.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then what happens about other solutions that maybe theme and your bundled kind of app solutions? For example, do we still have or do we still pay for our email and SMS solution?
Yeah, I don't ever try to build this perception that we replace everything.
Right.
Because I think you just sound like a scam if you say that.
Yeah.
I would say that our value prop is around incrementality. So like if I can help you reduce a couple apps, help you save a couple dollars, help you make a couple dollars, like it's a net positive because I'm giving you a more profitable solution. But there's a lot of categories that we just aren't playing in and we won't play in, right? Like you mentioned email, payment, subscription, reviews. Like there's just a lot of categories that we're not focusing on right now. Everything we're doing today is around like, how can we make you more money, right? So it's a lot around the cart, the checkout, the post-checkout experience, quantifying more dollars coming through the door, and then consolidating different apps along the way, as I'd mentioned, to also save you dollars at the same time. But it's another thing worth noting is one of the value adds of Platter as well is just the improved operational efficiencies that you get from it. So we get brands all the time that have these horror stories of like they had an agency build a custom store, they had a freelancer build a custom store, and now they need a developer every time they want to change something, whether it's the color of a button or a discount. We've been able to build our product around the drag and drop editor to really empower non-technical team members to make contributions. So because of our developer tools and our documentation, you don't have to be beholden to a third party to make additional changes as you continue to evolve as a business.
Yeah. I love that. So it sounds like during the onboarding process, then, we can talk about, here's where I'm at today. Here's my existing tech stack. You guys kind of know based on what you offer as your bundle. And you say, well, here's all the ones you can punt and here's the ones you can keep. You're going to keep your Klaviyo or your Attentive or PostScript. And that's going to take care of that. Whatever your personalization engine is that's kind of running that one-on-one on-page personalization. Do you have something in that kind of AI personalization space, or would somebody still want to have that running?
Yeah, so we don't at the moment, but it's definitely something that's being worked on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a hot area right now. And I've interviewed a few different founders dealing with this kind of like dynamically changing navigation based on search and queries. And then just, not just previously viewed, but just like truly dynamic one-on-one kind of personalizations. It's really neat. So that's available. I guess we just add it onto your theme and or an upgrade that's happening soon. And then I also talk about like retention and loyalty side. So, the whole idea is, how do we build LTV with our customers? Well, sometimes it's a loyalty program. And so, in getting points and redemptions and that, and typically that's a whole separate solution. The Smiles and the Loyalty Lions and the Yacht Pos of the world that are kind of handling that typically. And then, the other side of the marketing play is like, how do we get that? Like you said, you guys are very, as you said, conversion nerds. It's like, and I always think about, and I think that's good because then there's the paid acquisition, you land on the site and it's designed in the right way to move you through the funnel with upsells and cross sells and showing the right thing at the right time to the customer. I'd also argue too that, how do we get that second and third sale? That's part of the retention side of this business. And it's like, I always talk about this RFM, this recency, frequency, monetization strategy. Like, how are we understanding if we get one sale, how do we know what the next sale is? What should it be? And is there data? And Shopify has a ton of data saying, well, statistically, we know if you bought product A, they're going to buy product B within X number of days. And like, what's the marketing strategy around that? And so I think these are kind of more specialized tools and things that a brand would need to add on their tech stack, RFM, loyalty, personalization, and then email or SMS. But it sounds like you cover a lot of the other pieces in someone's tech stack.
Yeah, we don't focus on the retention piece as much because, like I said, a master of all is a master of none. So for us, like what's funny is our best partners are typically partners who have businesses where when their brands are making more money, they're making more money. So think of like a digital marketing agency, for example. Like if you're running ads against a website that isn't really converting, like you're kind of just putting money through a leaky funnel. But if you have a website that has really good conversion because of the way that it's set up, like it helps you want to spend more money to run more ads because it's working. So for us, it's like, let's maximize how much someone is buying and the likelihood that someone will buy when they land on the website. And then after that purchase and post-purchase, like we don't really touch the like retention piece.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, once again, like I said, you don't want to be you're a master of none if you're doing everything. There's no Swiss Army knife when it comes to this sort of thing. And that's kind of why the ecosystem is what it is in Shopify. It's like, let's get a theme and let's add on apps, and or in your case, you have a custom solution that solves a lot of the individual app challenges of, do they talk to each other and do I need them or not? And you know what you need and what you do well. And so I appreciate that. It'd be great to talk about a story now, because I think it's very motivational for me. It's motivational for people listening and saying, okay, great. Here's a brand or two kind of pre-Platter, and they decided to onboard with you and kind of, make the flip, getting redesigned through your theme and your custom kind of UI, and then going in with the Platter app and getting that all installed. I'd love to hear what happened kind of before and then after installing. I know you made anecdotally, we're talking about the ROI of just adding the app only and leaving the old theme, how well it paid. But imagine doing both. I don't know if you can share anything publicly about any brands.
Yeah, I think a really cool story, which is super top of mind, is what we did for a brand called Big Blanket.
Okay.
So they were paying over $500K a year in development costs, managing their store via a headless solution. And they were just spending so much money on development because of the complexities with the storefront. And so they basically came to us because their store was so inflexible and they needed a solution that would allow other people on their team to make changes. We actually went from signature to deployment of the new store in 16 business days.
Wow.
So not only do we save them over $500K a year in annual expenses, but we launched a new store in 16 days, which was definitely a record for us. That was full redesign and implementation and QA and deployment.
I'm looking at it now. So it's at bigblanket.com. I'll give them a little shout out on this show. But yeah, it's a lovely design, and I can tell some of the conversion elements that are on here, with an amazing CTA and visual, kind of, the biggest and best blankets in the world. And I love how the high level, you put the categories. The categories are all listed about what's new. Beach blankets and some plushy hoodie they have now in bundles, and even like robes and new arrivals. It's really well done. And then shopping by product. You've done a lot of smart things here on the homepage.
Yeah, they're definitely happy with it thus far, which is why we were able to tell such a great story. But I think that's just one of many, fortunately.
Yeah. I think you mentioned too, there was another, I think I've seen it actually under case studies. I think it was a brand called Caged, which is kind of a sports nutrition kind of supplement brand for workout nerds. And I don't know if you can talk about that case study.
Yeah. They saw a 45% increase in conversion rate from their old store to their new store.
I love it. Yeah.
That one, it was just crazy. Their team just couldn't believe it. They were basically telling us that we were one of the reasons that they were basically going from a 7-figure brand to an 8-figure brand because of the conversion on the e-com store. It was really just everything about optimizing their conversion funnel. And that was another store that we went from signature to deployment in under 60 days, which is our standard timeline. But they came to us with an alternative competing quote that was 12 months for over 6 figures. And they were basically deciding between us and that solution. And we launched it for fraction of the cost in under 60 days.
Wow, that's amazing. So then there are some people listening. I know we talked about the plus side, and there is the Platter Plus app that's available. And you talk about checkout extensions, which just kind of gives you full access to, I think, formerly checkout.liquid, and kind of get access to modifying, adding social proof and all other things that maybe core customers don't get access to. Can you talk about some of the other value adds you get? Because there are going to be some mid-market brands that are listening today. I know Caged is on Shopify Plus. There's quite a few brands that have made that choice of saying, yeah, we're paying the $2,000 a month or the 0.25% of the revenue. Shopify is going to get their bill to, have that fully scalable plus side and the increased API call limits. There's a laundry list of extras that you get by being on Plus. But from Platter's perspective, if someone is on Plus and you're going to look at the business case of onboarding, what extra value do you think a Plus brand is going to get from you?
Yeah, the very obvious answer, as I'd mentioned, is the checkout extensions, because that is a feature that you can't use unless you're on Plus.
Right.
I think beyond that, right now, we don't have any other functionality that's gated just for Plus brands.
Right. Okay.
And so I think typically we see that in a lot of cases that like plus is usually a signal of just like increased volume as a brand. Like it's not as common to see new brands go to right to plus out of the gate unless they have budget or they've done it before, et cetera. So I would say that like checkout extensions is the obvious no-brainer for plus brands. But I think the other piece to note is that like oftentimes with plus brands tending to be more like larger organizations, you get a lot of operational efficiencies, as I alluded to, which is around being able to have like members of your tech team and non-technical team make contributions to the storefront, having like a new clean slate infrastructure that wasn't piecemealed together over 4 or 5 years by a bunch of freelancers and agencies.
Yep.
We always get like e-com directors with PTSD who come to us who are like, I don't even know how to change anything anymore because we had so many apps installed and removed, but the code doesn't leave. We had multiple freelancers. No one has like a cohesive guideline in terms of how they're writing code. And so we've had brands who come to us who just ask us to do like a lift and shift of the storefront to just give them a clean slate with the same capabilities because it's just so much easier to manage internally.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I've always, once again, trying to motivate some of the businesses over the years that I've worked with. And, there is some pushback a bit. And in looking at the code and stuff too, these dependencies or, these non-dependencies between these different apps, and like I said, not having GitHub and not having any versioning, it's a real old train wreck. And then, a lot of times I've cloned their live instance or I put a fresh install in and then I've exported a lot of their content, all their product and customer record data, using Matrixify and kind of going down that journey and kind of helping brands a bit to saying, hey, it's not that painful. But at the end of the day, it's just like, you're not putting all the other variables in play that you guys do about like just being conversion optimized store. Let's take a look at your existing store and your existing KPIs. And then based on that and looking at the competitors in your niche, like I'm thinking of one brand right now that's in apparel in the women's dress market, but more in a niche women's dress market. And they're doing extremely well. They've been in business for like 12 years. They're on Plus. I managed them for the longest time. But their theme is very dated. It's dated looking. I know that they would elevate their brand and it would continue or even give I use the hockey stick growth kind of analogy, but I think it would really elevate their brand to work with you because it's like, no, now you get fresh eyes to take a look at kind of, well, what's working today for you? Because I think you would be shocked. I'll talk to you offline about this, who they are. You'll be shocked at how busy they are. But then I bet you'd look at them and go, we could really make a difference here because we've dealt with other fashion brands. We understand the demographic. And then we believe that we can put something that's more conversion optimized. These apps can go because our Platter app is going to fill the gaps on that. And they can just use their existing tools of retention and personalization and email. And boom, they're off to the races.
Yeah, I think another thing to note that I don't think I've mentioned yet, but the reason that our product is a subscription is because every quarter we release new features and updates that you get access to free of incremental charge. And the other piece of that too is that as a brand that's joining our ecosystem today, you're actually benefiting from the economies of scale of all the functionality we've built to date. Because if you try to build a storefront that we can provide you from the ground up, it would cost you well into the 6 figures and take you a long time because we've been building product for 2 years. Versus getting something for a fraction of the cost because you're basically reaping the benefits from us having built features and functionality over the last couple of years. And then there's ongoing, as I said, updates that you're getting new functionality for free of incremental charge.
Very interesting. I also see on your ticker on your homepage, open.store, and I've dealt with a lot of aggregators and roll-up private equity companies, things like that. Can you talk us a little bit about that? Because I think there are those types listening today that own multiple brands under one umbrella, and kind of like, how does Platter fit into that mix?
Yeah, so actually I would say that the type of company that will reap the benefits the most of our offering is holding companies, because what we can do is provide like a solution that is scalable across multiple brands. It's like cohesive in that like your team internally will know how to be able to manage each brand because they're all using the same infrastructure. And so you really benefit from the operational efficiencies because we have developer tools for technical teams to build faster on our product, and then a design system that can be created bespoke to you with your portfolio. And you, again, like I said, you get the incremental benefits of the economies of scale. So like if we're saving you money because you built one store and you didn't have to build it custom. Now imagine if you're getting that same benefit on 5, 10, 20, 30 brands. Right. You're now saving like into the 7 figures where you can reap the benefits of all this functionality and ongoing without having to like do it all custom yourself. And so I would say a lot of our strongest customers are holding companies that have multiple brands.
Yeah, I'm glad I got that out of the way because I think that's important. That's important to note because even outside the holding company side, I think there are brand founders that just love the startup world and they have a lot of different ideas. That's just kind of the entrepreneurial spirit. And so they get into one niche and they're in the leather handbag market and they do extremely well in that and they continue that product development. But then they also think about another market that they want to get involved in just because they just hang out with people and learn and they get ideas and all of a sudden, boom, they launch the next brand because it is a repeatable process that can work if you have a brand story. And it sounds like working with you guys would be, a natural fit to saying, yeah, here's my idea. Let's put it together or let's just do a Kickstarter on it. Let's see if there's any, or, let's put up one landing page to see if there's any people who are going to bite at this. It's pretty easy to kind of launch a new product this day and age and see if there's a product market fit and then boom, launch the store and get some social media going and some social proof with influencers, and all of a sudden things start going through the roof. So this is definitely a usable system. So,
yeah, I mean, look, it was 2 years worth of trials, tribulations, and learnings from all the different brands we were talking to, and just figuring out a way to productize a lot of things that aren't in today's day and age in terms of how you build and manage an e-commerce storefront.
So let's talk about different plans and pricing, things like that. I think that's kind of the next thing to talk about. So I think you have a couple different options where there's the Platter Plus Shopify app, and then you also have your bundle, which is the theme and the apps and design. So can you talk a bit about either or and why people may want one or the other?
Yeah, so the Platter Plus app is something that is compatible with any theme store. So if you're not utilizing checkout extensions as an example and you're a Shopify Plus brand, it's kind of a no-brainer to be using. But the reason that we built the app to begin with, because there's certain features like extensions that couldn't be built into the theme layer. So we wanted an app to coincide with what we could offer from the theme.
Okay.
Now that it's built, it could also serve as a standalone product offering. And then the Platter bundle, which I would say is the best value, is essentially where we're going to recreate new designs for your storefront and then implement them for you using our theme and app bundle, which is Smart Theme and the Platter Plus app. And like I said, that process typically takes anywhere from 45 to 60 days. I would say we've done it faster. We've also done it slower. It depends on what the brand's needs are, but you're essentially getting an entirely new conversion optimized storefront through that offering. Mm. And that offering, I think to mention, is $6.99 a month plus the implementation fee. The implementation fee will just vary depending on the size and scope of your store. So like how many landing pages do you want to port over from your existing store and how many pages are built into that? But there's a wide range there. I mean, we try to keep that as cost effective as possible because to us, like, I'd rather work with a lot of brands at a very affordable price than just like price gouge brands.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I appreciate that. So I'll have links to a lot of this kind of in the show notes for this. So $4.99 a month would be kind of for the Platter Plus kind of Shopify app. If you're on Plus, then you're definitely get access to checkout extensions and your UI to be able to modify that and get it set up correctly. So I think that's a really good starting point for a lot of folks. But it really, I think where the power is the conversion optimized new theme and just using, like you said, the 2 years worth and all the CRO history you have now of all the brands that have made a choice to move to Platter. So I think you get to pay that forward. I think that's as you said, economies of scale, paying it forward back to the next generation of entrepreneurs. What about those that are brand new though, or they're replatforming? What happens in that case? Because there are two different use cases here where they have a great idea, they hack something up on WooCommerce and now they're ready to kind of move to Shopify because they say they want to, shop pay and they want access to to a better checkout experience. So are you able to work with both parties, brand new stores, private equity, they have some money, they want to launch something brand new? Can you discuss that with them and then build out designs and off you go? And then what about existing non-Shopify stores?
Yeah, we're actually in the process of building an entirely new store with a pretty big NFL player, which is pretty fun. And then the other piece that I mentioned is for brands that aren't on Shopify, like we help port people over all the time off of like WooCommerce. So we can absolutely help build net new brands and then also build brands that are not on Shopify today, but want to be.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. Well, once again, I'll put all this in the show notes. So it sounds like it really does sound like a no-brainer. You have a great service offering. I mean, if I've in my head, if I'm summarizing it, it seems that I think a lot of people listening would say that maybe after all the A/B tests and all the things they've been doing to try to improve their KPIs and the performance of their brand, sometimes it comes down to a few different things. It could be truly the brand story and the brand play where you just don't have product market fit, and that's a whole separate conversation. But on the flip side, though, if you are getting traffic and people are talking about you, but just overall net as it relates to others in your space, if your conversion, AOV, LTV, we can rattle off all these acronyms, but it's just like if you're not quite happy with where you're at today, it sounds like, it's a good opportunity and a great time to think about getting a redesign done, having a conversion optimized theme, and then really doing an app audit. And exactly what I did when I was a customer success manager in Shopify, part of my job was I took on a new account was first thing I did an SEO audit to see if there's any technical problems with the website. And the second thing I would do is an app audit. And I'd actually ask the director of e-commerce or whoever it is and say, okay, let's talk about all of these 42 apps you have, and let's talk about why they're there and exactly what you said. New partners getting involved, and a lot of times they have no idea why they're paying $4.99 for this app and $200 for that app. A lot of people don't have no idea why they're there. They just they've shown up 6 months later. They have no clue. And so I think that's where you guys fit into that mix, right? You really will look at the business as a whole. You'll look at the apps as a whole and say, okay, well, we can get rid of these, and here's what we're going to be able to do to help you. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the best part about it is the fact that we can keep it super black and white in terms of being able to show you like which apps you can get rid of and how much we're saving you. There's some instances where if you replace a certain set of apps with our infrastructure, you're actually getting back, a couple $100 a month or more while also paying our subscription fee just because of how much we saved you off of the other apps you're using.
No, I can definitely see that. I'm already doing the math in my head based on what you already do. So I know the savings are there, so you don't have to sell me on it. I totally get it. So this is awesome. So before we wrap up for today, so I understand, like we kind of chatted in the green room before recording, I understand that you would like to kind of offer, I guess, like a listener-only bonus or a promotion for those listening. And so I'll kind of pass the baton to you, so to speak, and let me know what this offer is. Yeah,
so we're willing to basically give a free storefront audit for anyone listening who comes to the podcast, and then also first month free off of the subscription if you decide to work with us, which I think is also just a great opportunity to see the value.
Yeah, absolutely. And it costs you nothing for them. So that's why I highly recommend that if you're unhappy in your current situation with your current site, or you believe that performance could be better, this is a great opportunity right now for some fresh eyes to take a look at your current kind of business and then see if Platter can help you. I mean, you're going to be transparent and honest of kind of where you're at and what you believe you can do. And I appreciate that, just doing that audit. And I appreciate the first month free. It's going to save people, $700 just right out of the gates. And that, that'll be half the lead time for a redesign. And so I think it's all net, it just helps. And I just really appreciate that. So, thanks, Ben, for coming on the show today. I always joke on the show, but it's always a number of sheets of paper and notes that I've taken just shows the quality of the episode. And I got a couple pages of notes here. It's just life of learning is one of my mantras, and that you've shared a lot. I didn't realize that this was even available, that usually it was go to the app store and then here's my recommended apps that you need and check all these boxes and add them on and off you go. But the reality is it doesn't have to be like that. You actually have thought about it intentionally, have a conversion optimized theme that's custom, unique for every brand. And then you have your own Platter Plus app that really has the amalgamation of a lot of the important ones all rolled into that layer. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I wish you excellent and tremendous success into the future.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it.
Have yourself a great afternoon. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of eCommerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.